It's been about 5 years since I was last here, and funnily enough I don't recall ever seeing a signal box or old semaphore signals. And despite being at Hastings, I'm not heading for the beach yet, but I instead want to travel on the Marshlink line, which opened in 1851 between here and Ashford. And there's a few rather unusual, quiet, underused stations which I want to take a walk between. So join me as I start my adventure today at Winchelsea.
So it's up that road there, alright?
Alright, lovely. Appreciate that, mate. Thank you. That's alright, no worries. Cheers. So I have a query. I keep count of the number of stations I've used across this country, but what do I do when it's a rail replacement bus? This has happened before. I've walked the disused Nicky line from Harpenden to Hemel Hempstead, and when I got there, there were no trains. Something had happened, but there was a bus waiting to depart to take me to Watford. I never counted Hemel Hempstead as visited. While a similar thing has happened here, my connecting train at Hastings was cancelled, but a replacement bus was waiting to depart. I was considering still counting Winchelsea as visited, but the coach has dropped me off a 10-minute walk down from it, because unusually the town is quite far from the station, and also the road is just too narrow for that vehicle to reach the station in the first place. Funnily enough though, I was going to walk down this road, so I guess I've kind of pulled back the time that I lost, because obviously a coach journey takes a little bit longer than the train. So at least I can start my walk today, and it's not that big of a deal because luckily I do have another walk planned from Winchelsea, so I guess I'll just tick it off that time, considering nothing goes wrong on that day. I did think about waiting in Hastings for an hour for the next train to Winchelsea, which isn't cancelled, but I don't have much time today because of a train I want to catch later, if it isn't cancelled, at a station which has a very limited service. That's the priority today. Winchelsea, it's not really a big deal. And the walk today is a section of the 1066 Country Walk, obviously referencing the Battle of Hastings in 1066, the Norman conquest, which would have happened around these parts. This is a 31-mile path from Pevensey Castle to Rye. I have been to both of those locations before, but I've never walked a section of this path. In fact, I can make out the level crossing and the former station house at Winchelsea down there, so that's going to be the best shot of the station I'm going to get for you today. So Winchelsea is actually a rather historical town, but I'm largely going to avoid it today in favour of when I come back here another time. And honestly, I'm rather glad for that, because I've come across the site of an old windmill, complete with a trig point, by the way. It was quite a climb up here. There's a great information board here that tells me that it was blown down in the Great Storm of 1987. There's some fantastic views over the countryside, and something I didn't expect to see was the actual sea. The Sea of Winchelsea, which I'm not quite going to. The board does label another windmill though, which I can see in a distance, and I will see later as I'm heading in that direction. Considering I'm not heading into the town proper, and I'm instead on the outskirts, it gives me the opportunity to come across one of the old gatehouses. You know a place is old when they would have had one of these protecting the town. It's cool to see this still in situ. It's a really nice day, by the way. It's like despite it's October, it's still giving us one final hot summer's day. Oh, I have an unexpected National Trust sign here for Wickham Manor Farm. I just spotted it as I was walking along this country road. No matter how many times I come across one of these, it's always rather exciting. I've seen numerous war pillboxes this year on my walks, but none quite like this. It has a large access point, but that's only because the location of it makes sense, because it has a great vantage point across the coast. It can clearly attack any incoming enemies. And what I'll probably do if I ever come back to Winchelsea is actually walk the coast down there as much as I can towards Hastings, which will be a fun follow-up. This has been a rather exciting walk so far. It's not been a mundane countryside one. There's been things to see, such as the coast, the old gatehouse, the pillbox, and now we've got a windmill. I did allude to this earlier. But I think from this point it will be a bit more of a simple walk, and I probably should crack on with it because I really don't have that much spare time. I will say that the 1066 country path has been signposted very well. I've not had to look at my phone really to see if I'm going in the right direction or not. It's been very beautiful, but I'm coming off of it now as I've found the railway, so all I have to do is simply follow it until I finally visit a station on the Marshlink line. Not only do I have the railway running adjacent, but a little watercourse known as the Dolham Ditch. So just to confirm that yes, the 1066 country walk is continuing in that direction, but I'm heading down here by the Dolham Ditch and the railway. It does seem like to be a separate branch of it to Hastings though. That's what I can make out from these signs at least. Just noticed Icklesham is on there as well, 3.5 miles back that way. I've not seen anyone since then. This has been one of the most rural walks I feel like I've ever done. Why are you all following me for? Wow. Don't think I've ever seen so many ducks together before. This walk is beautiful until the very end. They won't be quiet. And the footpath has come to an end. I've made it out onto the road, which was too narrow for my coach this morning. The driver kindly made a special stop for me at Winchelsea, but no one piped up when he said that they were skipping Three Oaks Station, which is just up ahead. Well, there it is. Welcome to Three Oaks. I weren't lying when I said that it's a small station. So I mentioned earlier how the Marshlink line opened in 1851. Much of the line though was single-tracked in 1979, and there's clear evidence here as there used to be a second platform that is now disused. This isn't an original station on the line though. This, along with two other halts, opened in 1907. It's gone through various name changes. It was originally Three Oaks Bridge Halt. And Guestling was then added on, and then the halt was dropped, the bridge was dropped. It became Three Oaks as it is now in 1980. Of course, there is also a Four Oaks and a Seven Oaks station in the country. I've made it with about 20 minutes to spare. It still has a relatively decent service, a train every hour, despite how small this station is, but the same cannot be said for the next stop on the line. Oh, there's announcements here. I was not expecting that. Strangely, I think only one door on one coach opened. That's how small these stations are. No way. Is it saying the closest rail replacement bus stop is Three Oaks Station? 35-minute walk away? No way. Well, if you thought there wasn't much to Three Oaks Station, there's even less here at Dolham. The second disused platform is even much harder to spot. What's the point of this station? How did this survive the beaching acts, but yet major towns got scuppered with no stations at all? I've noticed this at most, if not all, southern stations are meeting points, which here feels very arbitrary and redundant. It makes sense at major London terminals you can ask staff to direct you to the meeting point to find someone, but what's the point here? Pointless sign. Why is it there? Go away. So Three Oaks might have had an hourly service, but Dolam has, well, not much. You can see there the next train is at 10:30 in the evening. It's not even evening at that point, it's just night time. I say it makes it hard to tick this station off the limited service, but luckily around this time there's one in either direction, so I can simply just bounce back and forth quickly. Oh, branch just fell off. They don't have printed timetables here anymore. They just ask you to scan a QR code instead. But I think the only other train is super early in the morning, around 8 AM. And that's pretty much it. I think it only gets 3 trains a day in either direction. It's no surprise then that this is the least used station in not just East Sussex, but both of the Sussexes, with only 1,038 passengers in last year's statistics. That is only about 3 a day, isn't it? One on each of the 3 services in either direction. And I was the only one who got on or off the train here. Let's see if that's the case on the way back to Hastings. It's just funny because from the station here, I can see a little branch coming off of the road, which is literally the path that I took earlier to Three Oaks. I made sure to actually avert my eyes away from Dolam station so I didn't spoil it until I come here now. So this station, much like Three Oaks, also had the Guestling name, opened as Guestling Halt, but was renamed 2 years later as Three Oaks was deemed to be closer to the village of Guestling. The Halt was dropped in 1969 and it's been Dolam ever since. And I'm really pleased I've made it here today. With the cancelled train to Winchelsea earlier on, this had to be a station I ticked off today, otherwise it would have been a real pain to come back because of the limited service. In fact, it's kind of been 8 years in the making this. I was very close to visiting Dolam back in 2017, but it just never ended up happening, and ever since, it just never happened either. We can't go to the last Halt station, Snailham, because it closed in 1959, so I'm just going to go back to where today began, at Hastings. Well, I teased you about it this morning. I'm back at Hastings at the bus station. Thanks, Southern, for organising a rail replacement, by the way. I feel like that doesn't happen too often when there's a cancelled train. I deliberately bought my tickets for a train an hour from now, just because if I'm this close to the coast, there's no way I can't go and visit the beach. Being on Hastings Pier as it's getting more and more dark behind me reminds me of the last time I was here in 2020 and the first time I travelled on the Marshlink line, because back then I was more focused on stopping at stations rather than getting out at them. And I think because of the COVID timetable, there were a limited number of trains anyway, so the evening service at Dolam around 6 o'clock didn't run. There was only the one very late at 10 o'clock. And so of course I stuck around to travel on it. What I did to waste some time was visit Eastbourne at the coast, and then I actually did get out to every intermediate station between here and Hastings. I did the walk between the 2 Pevensey ones, visiting the castle where the 1066 Country Way begins. I then got the train to Norman's Bay, did a coast walk to Coodham Beach, train to Collington, coast walk to Bexhill, and then I came here. I remember I got some food and I had to sit on the beach as it was dark waiting for that 10 o'clock train. I even managed to squeeze in Audiio, which is another station nearby. Obviously that's ended up being all pointless now because I have actually used Dolam station, but it seems rather fitting that I waited here in the dark to go to Dolam, and now I've done Dolam and I've come here in the dark. And this might be the last time I visit the beach this summer, autumn, year. We'll see. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more adventures like this coming soon. TfL bus services operate within the grey shaded area. I wasn't aware any London buses went Gatwick Airport. Also, where's Borough? Poor old Borough getting missed out on the Zone 1 map.